Okay, now let's talk about collections framework. Collections is a vast topic, so we are just going to discuss about some of the basic concepts. What are Java collections? Java collection framework is a set of classes and interfaces implementing complex collection data structures. Now, earlier we have arrays where we can store primitive values, but they have serious limitation that they can't shrink or grow dynamically, right? So now for dealing with complex data structures, we have collections. It has huge benefits like it reduces programming effort, it increases performance, it's part of the core API, easy to learn, and promotes software reuse. It's easy to design APIs based on generic collections. We'll talk about generic collections later on. Okay, now see, we have interfaces of collection framework, that are collection interface and the map interface. The collection framework has a lot of interfaces setting the fundamental nature of various collection classes. Now, like collection interface is the core one, and the list interface and the queue interface and the set interface, they extend the collection interface. Then others coming up. Then we have map interface. So there are lot many classes and interfaces in the collection framework. Let's see only the basic ones. List. So when do you define a list? List of objects like if in a 3D game that need to be rendered to the screen. So you'll store that list of objects in a list interface. So list defines storage as sequence of elements, and its benefit is that it allows random access and insertion based on position. It also allows duplicate elements. For example, you can write it as list an object and then create new array list. You want to store them in array list depending on your requirement. If you want to store them in a linked list or an array list, that way you create an object. Set. Set is a collection that cannot contain duplicate elements. So if you have a requirement that you don't want duplicacy, then you will use set. Sorted set interface extends set interface and arranges added elements in an ascending order. So sorted set basically sorts the data. Queue defines behavior of queue, that is first in first out. Map interface. Map stores data in key value pair, and both key and values are objects, and the key must be unique but the values can be duplicate. So that is all about the interfaces, common points we need to discuss. We use them according to the requirement of the problem, of the complexity of the problem. We use either list, set, queue or map. Okay, let us take one example. We have created one class list implementation. Now let us create a list. List al is equal to new array list. New array list. So we have created an object of class array list, and now it's saying we should import array list is from java.util, and we have to import list java.util.list. Now after we have created a list object, now we need to add this list interface. Provides a lot of functions like adding, for removing, hash code, which we will discuss later on, and size also. There are a lot many functions which are provided by it. So now we need to add some integer values to the list. So let us use add function, and we are adding, supposing, 3 numbers. al.add 2, al.add 3. Now we have added 3 objects in the list. Now another thing I want to tell you about is that now I want to print these values. How will I do that? We have one iterator interface also, which will iterate on the list. So we have put an iterator on the list. Now we need to import this iterator also. Okay, so now we have imported. Now we'll loop through it. It dot has next. We'll just print the values of the list. We'll print the values. It dot next will give the next value in the list and print it on the console. So when we run this, we get all the values printed. So iterator is used to iterate over the list. It's again an interface which is part of collections framework, and we are using it to iterate over the list. Okay, we'll see more examples of collections using generics in our next lecture. Okay,